the reality hits, it's like, oh my gosh, we have, and I'm going to say this because I grew up in church, so I feel I have a license to say it.
Sure.
But we have people fighting over their church pews. And meanwhile, we have people that are struggling like heck to serve God and fight an addiction.
Yeah, and they would sit anywhere they could.
Yeah. And so it just was, so I think that all that did was just galvanize it. Hey, this really is worth it because there's so much more than fighting over a pew.
Each day at Wesley Meadows is a new opportunity to serve older adults and reimagine retirement living. It is the heart of their mission that inspires their team to provide the kind of fun atmosphere and care residents would want for themselves. Experience the warm spirit and faith-based difference of Wesley Meadows. Call 662-429-2070 and schedule your visit today.
Hello and welcome to The Real Hernando, presented to you by Wesley Meadows Retirement Community and SRP Studios Podcasting. This podcast spotlights organizations, ministries, and community leaders in Hernando and Greater DeSoto County by sharing their stories and what led them to serve the community. Please follow us at therealhernando.com for all our channels and social media platforms. As always, I'm your host, Derek, and today we are spotlighting Leah's House. Leah's House is a 12-month residential restoration and recovery home for women who have been incarcerated and deal with addiction, behavioral problems, and more. It's their goal to provide a comprehensive biblical foundation for freedom. Their approach is holistic. It is mind, body, and soul. Joining me today is, first off, for more information, go to leahshouse.com. That is Leahs house.com. Today, I'm speaking with Executive Director Leonard Cochran and Residential Director Paula Cochran. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. A little more about my guests. So Leonard and Paula started volunteering at several recovery homes about 8 years ago and found their passion in this. They discovered possibly opening, or discussed rather, possibly open. I told you I'd do this. I told you before pre-show, I told them I mumble and stutter. They discussed possibly opening a home, but didn't know exactly how. After serving on the board of Leah's House for a while, the founder decided to step down to enter prison ministry. Leonard and Paula have been running the ministry for about 2.5 years now. Okay, finally. Paula, Leonard, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us on, Derek.
That was take 4, everybody, just so you know. No, I was kidding. So welcome to the bright lights and cameras and microphones. But we're gonna have a good time today, and we're gonna talk about Leah's House. So I like giving a little bio on the front end to give the listener a tidbit on you and what to expect for the show. But now we can start introducing ourselves personally. So Paula, I'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and things like that.
Okay, I'm Paula Cochran, and I've lived in the DeSoto County area for most of my life. Mm-hmm. And I really had a heart for doing women's ministry like this. I started volunteering in 2016, just fell in love with it, and ended up with a situation where I had wanted to start a women's home and didn't know where to start, and ended up with this situation where we ended up with a women's home. And it's really neat just to watch these women's lives change as they come in and they're loved and they get new tools so they can overcome the addictions and stuff in their lives.
I mean, they're starting their life over.
Yeah, right? All over again.
Restart.
And then, so what I'm hoping for is at the end of the program, when they go to graduate, that they'll have tools they've never had before, and they'll know how to handle finances and handle situations in their lives where they don't end up back in the same situation they were in before.
I agree. People go back to prison because they don't have those tools, right? Yeah. So I definitely want to dig more into that. But before we get deeper, Mr. Leonard.
Yes.
How are you, sir? Please introduce
Doing great.
yourself and again, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again for having us on. Yeah, well, as Paula told a little bit about herself when she got started. So I come from the corporate world, learning development for about 18 plus years. And so I'm kind of the nerd side of it while she's the feet on the ground and handles the day to day.
So you got to be nice when you say that.
Yeah. Well, they don't want me handling day to day, believe me.
But that's partnership. You know, everyone has their role. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So, she, like she said, once she started volunteering, it was funny to me. It was almost as though it was like on our wedding day, she glistened when she walked down the aisle. And when she came home from volunteering, she's like, this is great. I love it. And she had that kind of a glow type thing.
Yeah.
And throughout our married life, she'd always followed me. You know, Leonard, I'm the front guy. I'm the one that takes the stage and the whole thing. So whatever Leonard did, she'd support me. And so I recognized, oh my gosh, I need to get behind her on this.
Yeah. Everyone needs to find their place too. You need to be an individual. In order to really find peace and happiness, you got to have your thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so she found it in doing that, helping the women. And so once Leah's house came along, we sat on the board together with that. So that's really my first involvement was with Leah's house. I'd show up at some special events for some of the other ones where she had volunteered. But sitting on the board with Leah's house was my first go. And we transitioned to take over leadership once the founder had moved on. And so here we are.
So Paula, what does residential director mean? Tell us a little more about that.
That means that I'm there kind of to give. I give the girls assignments to do. I set up the classes, and so they take classes, different classes, and then I go and I check their work to make sure that they're doing the assignments that they've been given, and
learning coping skills and just all the different tools.
And I'm there with them. Every day during the day.
And they're there 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, they're 24 hours. Yeah. I do have a house manager that's there, and her name is Beth, and she is there at nighttime with the girls, but she has a daytime job.
Do you have any woman in there that is placed there through law?
I do have one that's in there now that's placed there. She's on parole, and so we have to come to Hernando to check in.
So you have a good relationship with
with the parole department.
And that's great. They trust y'all. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if this is the right term, but like a halfway house.
It's kind of like
that vibe-ish where we have to put you somewhere. Yeah. We can't just set you free yet. Yeah. Right. And then they're accountable. So if they leave your house, they're we have to
contact the pro and let them know that they've left. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a 12-month residential program, right? So what happens after 12 months? They graduate, and then is there a transitional period or?
Well, when they
Leonard's shaking his head.
That's the dream, right? So right now it is only that 12 months, and Paula will add. I mean, they're not always directly shown the door at 12 months.
Yeah. Right.
When you consider, and again, kind of that nerd side, so forgive me for running down that avenue, but when you consider, depending if they have a substance abuse issue, how long they've had it and what they've been addicted to, we know from neuroscience it takes 6 months to a year to even get that mind cloud cleared up. Well, here we are. We're fast tracking it to get from point A to point B. That's a fast 12 months for them. Despite what they might think, that's a fast track. And so we would love to at some point have the ability to have a place. In fact, we spoke with someone yesterday. It sounds like, I mean, it's real premature to say it's going to work out, but they have a transition home. So we'd love to have input for another 6 months to maybe even a year because of building up those finances. And most of them have never had checkbooks and handled banking.
And people don't realize that. They don't think about that part.
Oh my
They have
gosh.
no idea how to budget money. I mean,
Well, most come in without ID. So let's just even start there.
There you
right?
go. So in the spirit of this conversation, I don't mind getting vulnerable and personal, but I just celebrated 10 years of alcohol freedoms, I call it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.
But I can attest to that year, that first 2 years, it is a process and a growth period. And I kind of look at it like aging in dog years. That first year, you are a little baby needing attention, and you do not know how to handle socially, at least for me, because the alcohol was what helped me be social. But as you go, it gets better and better, as long as you keep up with that. But yeah, a year is great. That's a great milestone to hit, but there's more work to be done, for sure.
Yeah.
So what is the role of the executive director, do you?
Yeah, so I have the privilege
to be the nerd.
I'm in and out and be the nerd, absolutely. But on paper, really, I guess I advise and coach quite a bit. And Paula and I have always had a great relationship, and so we talk through everything that happens, just about. And then one of the new things that I've just kind of really learning to embrace too, Derek. Everyone that has been to the house so far either is lacking a male figure or has had a negative experience with a male figure in their life, be it their father, be it their boyfriend, all of the above. And so oddly enough, I get to be the guy that tries to set that role model for what a good guy should be.
So they know what it's like to trust a man.
Absolutely.
Because it's shattered.
Yeah.
Right. With this abuse.
Yeah. It's, and someday, some way, I want to get some, I don't know if it's a speech, presentation, whatever, to beat guys on the head with, to help them to understand the importance we play is just, we don't even recognize it,
Yeah. And I'm sure there's wins that kind of remind you of the good work you're doing, right? I know there's tons of stresses too, but what are those wins like for y'all? What's a decent little success story recently? If you have one, I'm sure you have one.
Well, we do.
Rude questions.
Yeah, like
if you have one.
With our house manager. Our house manager, she has just hit her 5-year clean mark.
Beautiful.
She has just come off of parole, and she's got so many things that's just happened this month. We're so excited about what's going on in her life, and she is just doing so well. And really, it helps the other girls just to see what she has done, and that they can do that too.
Do they come back and mentor and make a presence?
We do have one that graduated, and she has come back a few times now. Right now, she's doing drug court, and she's having to do it in Batesville, so it's a long trek back and forth, so she's not been able to come back as much as them. But yeah, we try to keep that relationship with women that didn't even make it to graduate. I try to still stay in touch with them. How are you doing?
I'm sure you love hearing from them.
Oh yeah.
When you said, hey, when you hear from this person, I hit 5 years, it must make you very proud.
Yes.
And one of the things Paula's done that's made it so great too is she's trying to make the house a home.
Yeah.
And so it's not an institution. It's not
a system.
Yeah. And even though it's a program, it's still a loose program. And so it's a very home. They're sisters in the home, and they deal with family. They are the family they're dealing with. They have outside family as well, obviously.
So obviously I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. I was just going to say, so she's, in a sense, she's the mother role, and Beth is the big sister, perhaps. But so they love reaching out and staying in touch.
So obviously there's expenses with all of this. So what fuels this mission for y'all?
Well, right now we're just on individually based donations. We don't I don't have a grant writer. We don't know anything about grants right now, but so it's just
donations. Do y'all do fundraisers?
We have before, we set up at Olive Branch Craft Fair one time, and I'm trying to really we need to do more of those. Sure. Get some fundraisers.
Part of the situation for us is we're 100% volunteer. So Paula she's full time, and she's full time volunteer.
A full-time job and volunteer.
Yeah. She's full-time volunteering. She doesn't have a paying job.
Oh, okay. I thought you said full-time and full-time. Yeah.
Clarify. Yeah. No. So
you put all of your
of my time.
Your mind, body, and soul into this.
Yeah, everything's in it. Yeah.
And so that's, we are dependent on those individual donors because of that. Now, the beauty flip side of that, though, is, we are not a medical facility. We have a volunteer counselor that comes in, and we are 100% volunteer. So it's crazy economical when you compare it to some name corporations that are in recovery as well. Our entire budget for a year is about $45,000.
Wow, that must
most
be tight.
Places, that's about 30 days of sobriety.
Yeah, to have an actual house with all those expenses, and you're feeding these people.
Yes.
I'm surprised. Wow, that is a shoestring budget.
Yeah. We house 5 women, and we run about $45,000 a year for it.
Do you keep it at 5, or do you have a limit, or?
We do have a limit in the place that we're at right now. I think it's in the lease that we can't go beyond a certain amount. It's 6, but we have we only hold 5 right now because we have two women in each room, except for the house manager. She has her own room. So we could add one more to it, but there's not really the room to put them without giving her space up. So,
and if you overwhelm yourselves and your budget, it's only going to be bad for the ladies, because now they're not getting the proper treatment, right?
Yes.
Well, and you put, no offense, ladies, but if you put 5 women together, it's a lot to handle sometimes. Anyhow,
I'm gonna button this lip up. But I guess to nerd out with you, Leonard, I'm fascinated with boards. I serve on a couple myself, and I'm interested, what size board do you have? Do you have an executive committee? What does your board look like?
Yeah, well, when we took over, we got a fresh board, and we've had some turnover with that. So we're needing to expand our board. And so right now, Paula and I serve, I know typically as the executive director, they're not a voting member, but it's a volunteer cause, so I have the right to vote.
You have a say. Yes.
And so anyhow, but it's Paula and myself. We have a finance person, and then we have a representative that's come through the program or familiar with addiction that sits on the board as well.
Okay.
And so we'd like to expand it a little more.
So it's total of 4.
Yes, 4 is our bylaws are written. We have a minimum of 4. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. But I suggest to anyone, join a board. I've found much pleasure and fulfillment. I'm at the Chamber and Arts Council, and it's just a great way to make new friends and meet new people. But it's nice having a little voice, right? Like you actually have some say in how something grows and everything. So anyone listening that's always kind of had interest joining a board, you found one here that has some open seats for you. So please reach out to them. All their contact information in the description. So now I want to go back to you, Paula, and kind of go back in the timeline. What was that moment like where it just hit your heart, and that's when the transition happened, where now you really want to put your passion and focus on this new path? What was that moment like? Is there a specific moment?
It was like in 2016. I went and volunteered at a women's place. In fact, it was Warriors. It used to be Breakthrough in Olive Branch. And I went there and I volunteered to teach a class. And from there, it just grew. And then after a while, I ended up also going to Precious and Pink, where Miss Ann is.
I was going to bring up Ann.
And I volunteered at Miss Ann's.
She's been on this show. Ann Lunsford, we all love you.
So I volunteered at her house for a couple of years. And then COVID hit, and so I couldn't go there during COVID, and I ran into the lady that had Leah's house, Michelle Moyers, and so I went and started doing classes there, and then we got on the board, and then it just grew from there. And then she decided she wanted to go into prison ministry, so and she was just going to let it go and ask if we wanted to.
Oh, so when the intro, when I read the founder decided to step down to enter prison ministry, that's Ann Lunsford.
No, that was Michelle Moore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Michelle.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm messing
Yeah,
names up.
I went
one.
there after
Okay,
Precious
right.
and Pink with Miss
She
Ann.
does great work as well. Because when you said
yeah.
prison ministry, I know
And
that's
she
what
is
she's
in prison ministry too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love Miss Ann.
So
She's
there
awesome.
was that pivotal moment for you where you're like, this is it? Or was it just a general progression that God kind of led you down to be what
I
it is?
guess it was just when I would do the classes and I would just see, when I was at Warriors, I would see the look on the ladies' faces.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just knowing that they were loved and accepted, it was like, oh my goodness, it just, I don't think they got that a whole lot outside of that. It was almost like they were constantly beat down, put down, called names,
Sure.
and all that stuff. And
They feel like they can't win
and
at
they
anything.
felt like they weren't valuable. And I wanted them to know that they're valuable. And when you could just watch their eyes and when you talk to them about how valuable and they had a worth, it was like, it's like, this is so worth it.
And it brings peace to their life too. Something, a foundation to build from.
And I think what helps so much too is, although Paula's not gone through the same background as a lot of the women have, she's suffered some abuse. She's been through some things that weren't real fun for her, so she relates to the ladies in an awful lot of ways.
And they're going to feel that genuine
way.
empathy.
Yeah. And so
it goes a long way.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what drives her compassion to be who she is, even outside of doing this, right?
Yeah.
And so it just adds to what she does there with the ladies.
So you guys take over 2.5 years ago. What is the journey? What has this journey looked like for y'all in the last 2+ years? Trials, tribulations, struggles, wins. It's a huge taking, right? And a huge thing to take on. And I'm always interested. It's sort of like an entrepreneurial story. And when someone opens their business, there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
So we'll treat this the same way.
Yeah.
What's the last 2+ years been like?
Well, and I'll jump in real quick if I can get before the last 2 years, because you read it in the intro, we were already considering, would we want to open our own home? And I know Paula had a real burden to do that. And so we were praying, okay, number one, should we, do we really want to? And then how the heck do you do it? What are the laws? So we'd started working on that kind of homework. And then we had visited a ministry in Nashville called Thistle Farms. And they have, at the time they were doing workshops, it was free. You could come over and do like a 2-3 day workshop. They were very open about the way they do their home. And so Paula's actually been on 3 occasions now. Took Miss Ann one time, as a matter of fact, as well as Michelle.
Yeah. Girls' road trip, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was tagging along. But anyhow.
You were sitting in the back, right?
Yeah. Well, believe me, I'm surrounded by girls.
I'm only going to speak when spoken to.
But nonetheless, so we did get to see from those learning experiences and then the other homes that she had volunteered in. And so we had some pre-entrepreneurial experiences.
Yeah.
We want to use that as an example.
Because an entrepreneur, small business owner, they jump.
Yeah.
You just jump in and you figure it out, and it's stressful.
Yeah. So I don't know.
And as far as
anything, Paula,
wins and loses, we've lost a few to addiction that.
While in the house.
Yeah, while in the house. We've even ones that have left and went on, we've lost some from there. And I know I guess the last one we lost, I really sat and I thought, is this a winning game? But anyhow, I think if just one, even out of, it's worth it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, if you're not doing it, then zero. Right?
So it might look like there's more losses than there are wins.
Yeah. The losses are harder to not think about. Those are the ones you end up focusing on. I think it's like human nature to look at the losses and lose sight of the wins that we really do get.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that the last loss that Paula's referencing, I mean, that was a close friend. We'd known her for 5 years. It wasn't like it was just somebody rolled up and, And so, it was a moment of doubt, moment of questioning. And then kind of the reality hits. It's like, oh my gosh, we have, and I'm going to say this because I grew up in church, so I feel I have a license to say it.
Sure.
But we have people fighting over their church pews. And meanwhile, we have people that are struggling like heck to serve God and fight an addiction.
Yeah, and they would sit anywhere they could.
Yeah. And so it just was, so I think that all that did was just galvanize it. Hey, yeah, this really is worth it because there's so much more than fighting over a pew.
Of course it's worth it. If at the end of the year you've saved 50 women, that's 50 women.
Yeah.
5M Services, we're your comfort specialist. We're dedicated to serving residential and commercial clients with money-saving solutions, combining the highest quality parts with our unwavering commitment to delivering exceptional service to give you the top-notch experience you deserve. A 10-year parts and labor warranty is included with every install. Dial 662-560-7331. 5M Services, making your comfort our priority. Visit us on the web at 5mservices.net for more information.
So go back to, you said, that you're not a medical facility and everything, but how do you handle detoxing? Because that's a comment. Obviously, someone's coming straight in.
Well, we do require a 30-day detox prior to arrival.
So, and that's up to them to find a facility to do that if needed?
And most folks, that's not a problem. It's insurance or just the fact there are some folks, some organizations that will do that for free with them. Sometimes it is a self-detox, and we're taking that person's word for it.
Do they have to pass a drug test before coming in?
We usually do. If they have if they seem to say they went through detox, we will test them, and also if they come in, and we'll test them to make sure there's nothing in their system.
Because is 30 days enough time to clear everything out? Because I know THC can hang around for a minute.
Yeah.
Does it have to be straight clear?
It's usually like with detox, it's usually like alcohol and
right. Yeah.
There's a
alcohol's one of the worst to detox from. I learned that in rehab.
It's very dangerous.
Literally can kill you.
My drinking was different. It wasn't the all day every day. It was the binge side of things. So I didn't really have much of a detox, but I saw some fellas in there that did.
Yeah.
And they got the most attention. They were allowed to stay in their room all day and lay down, and you just saw them sweating it out, and it's very dangerous. You can start having seizures and everything.
Yeah. It's one of the few that will actually kill you. Oddly enough.
Yeah,
it's legal, but it'll kill you.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? And it was also eye-opening. Just everyday people, someone that you would see at Walmart, or this person could be an insurance agent. Heroin.
Yeah.
Because of the Oxycontin that led them to that addiction, and then it travels down to heroin. And you get this picture in your head of junkies and alcoholics living under a bridge. No.
Yeah,
it's among everybody.
Yeah,
it touches everybody. So you can't judge someone by their luck. You don't know what they're going through.
Yeah, there's a lot of functional addiction out there. I mean, just like you said, you were a binger, so I imagine working a 9 to 5 or whatever was perfectly easy for you. And the same applies with any other kind of a dependency.
Yeah. So 30 days detoxing. Yeah. So that's good. So then that way, because you're not licensed for that, right? I mean,
right. Yeah.
You can't claim to be a medical facility.
No. And usually, what we find, though, regardless of what detox or where they're coming from, even in the home, there's almost like a 2-month adjustment. Anyhow, we've talked a lot about it here recently. We try and space how frequently somebody comes in, so because you can guess it turns the house upside down. You
get that 2-month sort of intake,
and so
process.
If we can, a month to 2 months to allow somebody to adjust to the home, because now you're living in a community as opposed to wherever you came from, a prison or on the street or boyfriend's car, whatever, so there's that type of an adjustment. And then, like I talked about, the cloudiness of the addiction, so that kind of comes through, learning the house rules. And so all of that comes, it's so we're not just dealing with a single addiction. We're dealing with all of these varying behaviors that you and I in sobriety, it's just a thing. They got an attitude. I'll deal with it later, whatever. But when you're recovering in those early stages, like you said about being a puppy dog, everything sets you a little on edge, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, there's two phases. There's the detox and then the therapy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the detox is easy in any stretch, but it's the smallest part of the recovery.
Yeah.
It's the 10 years after.
Yeah.
It's the years after of learning how to live without whatever that it was you're addicted to. And you mentioned rules. Obviously, there's boundaries in prison and rules and everything, but you're in prison. When you're out in the real world, boundaries are tough. And if someone that's lived a life like that, they've lived with no boundaries.
Yes.
So that must be a little tricky at first. Do you get any pushback? You've had to learn how to be psychologists too on how to treat each woman differently, because they're all going to be different, coming in with different issues, different attitudes and everything. So what does that process look like? Say you got someone that is just not wanting to be there. They want to be there, but they're really struggling with the boundaries, you know, or for the most part, are they just, because they want to be there, they're open to listen?
Well, we have ladies that come in that the rules are fine. They like having the rules. Yeah. And then some of them, they're going to try to break every rule they can break, and they don't. The biggest thing is they don't have a phone. And, nowadays it's hard to function without a phone. But so the first 6 months.
I reach in my back pocket and it's not there. It's instant panic. I know. It's awful.
No phone, no internet because of the phone.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's like a whole new world that they never experienced because they don't have those things.
Which is great.
Yeah. It really, it gives them time to, just rest. Well, when they first come in, that's what we kind of hope for, is you have some time to rest.
Yeah.
Instead of just going, we're going to work, we're going to do this. No, you've got some time to rest and to grow.
And make no mistake, and I am so guilty of this. I'm going to sit in my dad's chair. I'm going to chill for a minute. I'm going to rest while scrolling through Facebook. Not resting. Yeah. Not resting.
Yes.
Reading a book. Relaxing. That's resting. But Facebook, and it's just, and for some of these ladies, it could be trigger after trigger after trigger too. But you're just inundated on seeing happiness. Why am I not happy? Yeah. Just the psychological warfare you can get from Facebook.
Yeah. And that's why some of the programs we offer, I think, are so important. I mean, Cloud and Townsend's Boundaries is one that everybody goes through. There's a Soul Boundaries. We also...
Keys to Freedom.
Keys to Freedom, which is Mercy Ministries out of Nashville. And so that one's a good one as well, because... you mentioned the psychology or the psychological aspects of it all. Part of it is to go back to your roots and face, I'm seeing the fruit of my past, and we always try and correct that fruit. We correct that behavior, but let's go to the root now and find out what the real reasoning is. And then if we can fix it at the root, as opposed to just behavioral adjustments, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are changed just sitting in a prison cell for 12 months. But if you go back to where the problem is, and it's, again, kind of an outsider looking in at it, it's fascinating to me to see how difficult it is to go back to that root. I love to, we're faith-based, so I'll always love to quote, in 23rd Psalm, it says, lo, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. So they've already come through a hellacious background. Most, like 99% of them, have trauma that I don't ever want to see in my life. And
Same here. You can't relate to it.
Most of us had experienced that.
You can only have so much empathy if you haven't experienced it.
But to go back and deal with that, it's as though they're literally reliving it. And so we have to help them to understand, hey, that's where the healing has to start. Yeah. It's painful, it's hard, it's ugly, but you've got to go to that, because that's what the start of all this was. And so once they build enough trust in the leadership, enough trust in the other girls in the home, and that, then they're more open to do that, and they can be honest about it. Because it's real easy. I'll pick, this is some little area I'm dealing with. That's my problem. Yeah. No, we need to dig and go deep.
The key word is honest.
Yeah.
You've got to be honest with yourself. You got to push denial to the side.
Yeah.
Have to, and you have to really want it. You can't force someone.
Yes.
They try that, they throw you in jail, or a court will throw you in a facility. I saw a lot of people in rehab, in my experience, that didn't want to be there. They were just counting down the days to get back outside to do what they were doing, and you gotta want it.
Yeah. And you earlier had asked about court order. Well, we do have folks that are there that are going to the parole officers and whatnot. So they don't have the option to just jump and go somewhere else. But most of the women that come there, they can walk at any time. And sometimes we have to make them aware that, hey, we're not holding you here. If this is a problem, if you have a problem with these rules, we can let you go.
Yeah.
We're not going to keep you here if you don't want to be here.
Right.
And that might distinguish us occasionally from some other programs, like you said.
Well, I mean, like facilities that work with insurances, you walk, your insurance isn't going to cover it.
Yeah.
So you are kind of held captive in that way. If someone's there without a court order, I mean, you're not going to force these people to stay. Again, it goes back to them wanting it. It's on you. You're the one ultimately that has to do all the work. When I say you, I mean in general, the people that are recovering. There's a term called processing that I learned in rehab. Processing are we processing cheese? What are we processing, right? It's a general word, but every morning we would have a piece of paper to fill out how, your mood 1 to 10, the suicidal thoughts, in the process. On intake, when you have a new woman come in, do you do some form of processing? And what I'm leading to is, because triggers are very important. You got to know what a trigger might be for a woman, and it could be someone raising their voice. It could be a trigger. Do you learn about their traits and some of their triggers as they're coming in?
Yes, they have an application that they fill out, so it gives us a lot of information with the application. And then it's like I kind of see what areas that they need more help in. Yeah. And that's what I try to veer for each one of them. Yeah. Because one of them might not have a problem in this and the other one has a problem in something else. So I try to work on whatever problems that they have so we can get to the root of it and help. So.
Exactly. That processing kind of dials it in for you, doesn't it? Yeah. 100% volunteer. So let's talk volunteering. How can people volunteer? How do they get involved? And what does it look like? What are they doing? What help do you need? What help do you get from volunteers?
We have a couple of ladies that come in and they volunteer their time to do art. We have a new lady that's going to be coming in June, and she's going to come in and teach them how to cook. Because a lot of our girls...
Can she come over to my place?
a lot
she
of
can't
our
be
girls
there every
don't
day.
know. They don't know how to cook right now. We're at a place where...
If she can help me cook one giant crock pot of chili, I'll eat all week.
So she's got to come in and teach them how to cook, because this has been an area that, especially right now, we did have a lady that was in there. She was doing all the cooking before that come in, but she left, and it's like nobody knows how to cook. So she's going to come in and teach them how to cook and how to prepare their meals and all that. We have the Keys to Freedom class. Now we go outside to do that, and it is a class that deals with trauma. And healing and forgiving, and I mean, it's really the best class we have.
Yeah, the financial training.
And then we have a financial person that comes in and teach financial stuff.
That's so key.
Very, very elementary financial. I mean,
they don't
had a checkbook.
They don't teach you how to do checkbooks in school now.
Wow. So learn how to
that's great.
Checkbook, savings account, budget, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So really, every volunteer opportunity is different. So
so it's just,
she's going down the list of some of the folks.
Somebody volunteered a piano. We don't have a piano player yet, somebody, but we have a couple of girls that want to learn how to play piano. Yeah. Cool.
So you have someone come in giving lessons?
Well, not yet. We're looking.
But that's what you're looking for. All right, here you go, people. Yeah, we need a musician in the house.
Yeah, and like the financial class, typically it's so many weeks of somebody coming in and volunteering and doing that. So it's not a regular routine where some of the other classes are like the art. Those ladies love coming, so they're there once a week doing art for an hour or two.
Yeah, so that's a weekly program.
Yeah,
I'll call them programs for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And then we also reach out like the ladies will go and we do a packing night at one of the churches in Cornerstone. They do a packing night and they go out the next, they do it on like a Thursday night, and then on a Saturday they go out and pass out bags to the homeless, and so they do an outreach like that. So we do several different outreaches too, where the ladies get involved, and they love doing the outreaches.
That helps give them perspective on their own life. It's like, man, it could be worse. I'm blessed to be where I'm at right now.
Well, and just the opportunity to serve too, right?
Yeah.
Because they've been in a situation where it's whether they want to admit it, it's been about them, and to give back and do something is just such a refreshing for them, because then they get to see the magic in the eyes that Paula's talking about.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. So how does someone volunteer?
Okay, so they can call at 662-703-9
806.
Yeah, 9806.
I always have to
I
read it.
memorized
Or
it.
they can either call, or they can get on the go to the website.
Leah'sHouse.com.
Info@leahshouse.com.
Oh, that's
They
your email.
They can
Okay.
email, yeah.
Yep.
And then what we do have an application for it, because there's varying reasons why some folks want to volunteer too, unfortunately.
And there's a little bit of vetting.
There is a little bit of vetting.
You got to trust the person.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
And we have and anybody interested, though it's not that difficult, but we do that, like you said, a little bit of vetting and whatnot, and then we go through the rules and things to help them understand too, because we don't want to undo anything that's been done. If somebody's got a favorite, or somebody wants to give money out, or some of these kind of things. Not everybody's aware, but most folks that volunteer have some experience in that culture, so they know what they're kind of stepping into.
Yeah, so they have some experience, which is great.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, donations. We mentioned that's what fuels y'all. So how can someone best donate?
Well,
Just
number one,
reaching out again to all the same things.
Reaching out, praying for our volunteers, praying for the ministry. Also, sometimes ladies comes in, they don't have clothes, they don't have things. They can donate household items or clothing.
Yeah.
Donate their time if they want to come in, and if they have like a class they want to teach, or if they have something that they think that would help these ladies, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
We've had people donate, like Paula said, the piano. We've had some other things donated that they've given, knowing that we're going to sell it and use the money from what that is as well.
That's
so we've
also
done
great.
those types of things.
You can donate a material item, knowing that now it's value to you.
Yeah,
to turn
some
it
folks
into
want
funds.
Amazon toilet paper to the girls, so we have those because we at this point some of the women receive food stamps, so that's helped subsidize the food, but it's those non-food items that those types of things,
the toiletries and
exactly, and but we've got Cash App, we've got all that we can share. I mean, you can put them in the program notes or whatnot. Obviously.
Yeah, send me the links.
we'll be glad to do that.
Email me the links.
Yeah.
And because you got an email from me today.
Yes.
So that's where you can reply to me.
Absolutely.
I should have emailed you earlier about how to find me, but you found me.
We did.
You're creeping down the hallway. Hello. No. But all right, so we're almost at the end. Before I wrap this up and give more contact information or remind and repeat, parting words. Did we miss anything? You got the floor. Anything you want to say? Anyone you want to address? If you want to just talk about some board members, thank people, whatever it may be, I'll give you guys the floor to finish off with what you want.
Yeah, I would like to thank the people that have donated, the people that have come in and put their time in. I've got so many really good volunteers that come in, and they're faithful, come in and love on the girls and just help them with anything they need help with. And even the people that's donated clothing items, that's bought shampoo and cleaning supplies, and just the ones that have just reached out and have really put their time in there, whatever we needed.
God bless them.
Yes.
Right. Leonard, any final words?
Yeah. Well, for me and my end, back to the donations, just everybody's felt the tight. I will throw this out, not for sympathy, but for reality. Our biggest expense is rent.
Yeah.
And so in the past 2 years, our rent's gone up $350 a month.
Yep.
And so you do the budget at home, kids.
Yeah,
How's that affect you?
It's rough.
And
It
so
is.
God's provided, and we've got it covered. But it is those folks that give on a monthly basis that really help sustain us more so. I mean, we love anything that comes in.
Sure.
You know, even joining the Kroger. Kroger has the community rewards. If you use the Kroger app at all, you can put us on your community rewards. We get about $25 a quarter from that or whatever. Every quarter of the year, they cut us a check. But so just, we don't talk about money much at all, but it is something that we have to have.
It's reality. You got to pay the bills. You got bills. Churches have, bills.
Yep.
So it is what it is, But again, so for information, questions, volunteering, donations, go to info@leahshouse.com. Again, that's LEAHS. You can call them at 662-703-9806. And you can find all of that and everything else and the whole story at leahshouse.com. Such a pleasure meeting y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. See, was that
Thank you
hard?
so much.
Did you forget about the cameras?
Yeah.
All right. That's what we always talk about at the front end. That's my goal. That's what I try to achieve with each interview, is to have fun and tell a good story. So this story has been amazing, and thanks for sharing it.
Yeah, thanks for allowing us.
And thank you, the audience, for listening and watching the Real Hernando podcast. Follow us at therealhernando.com. You can find our network links: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and yes, kids, we're even on TikTok. No Snapchat, though. And to our wonderful sponsors, thank you for fueling this. This needs fuel, too. This is not a nonprofit. This is a business. I don't pretend, but it still needs fueling. So I'm blessed to have some great sponsors. And again, go to therealhernando.com to learn everything about this podcast. And to those watching and listening again, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.